Narrow your focus. So this is about using your full hour and keeping your athletes engaged for that whole time and making sure that you have things to say all the time. This is in your class plan. It's going to be the layering with focus points column. I'm going to show you some class plans so you can see exactly how to use it and how to apply it to your classes straight away. This is probably my biggest pet peeve as a coach, watching other coaches. And then for myself as a coach, it is like I could not do a class plan without it. I wouldn't be able to go into a class and just say to athletes, do some squats. Just doesn't work for me. So this is it. Narrow your focus using your hour. Let's get into it. In this session, what is it? What is narrowing your focus? Why do we narrow the focus? How do we narrow the focus? And then homework, right? So what, why, and how? And this is very similar to how we coach. What, why, and how, all right? Now, what is it? Narrowing an athlete's focus is when you give them something to think about with everything you teach or instruct in a class. For example, general warm-ups are the worst for this. It really gets under my skin when I see a coach say, all right, everyone jump on a rower there and we're going to row for 90 seconds. I'm just like, why? This is like, don't waste time in your hour. Using your hour efficiently is giving people things to think about all the time and making sure that what you're doing is relevant. Like, don't get me on a rower if my workout is handstand push-ups. Unless you can link the rower to the handstand push-up, you're wasting time. Always use things in your warm-up that are relevant for the workout. And I have a section coming soon on literally general warm-ups on how to use them more effectively and how to link them to workouts better. So, for instance, if you're doing a deadlift workout and you're getting to warm up on the rower, perfect. But then link it and say, give them something to focus on the rower that's going to get them better at deadlifting. So it could be, we're going to row today in the warm-up for 60 seconds, but I want you to keep your heels down. Like, that's different. It gets into the posterior chain a little bit more, and it's more relevant to the deadlift than just jump on a rower, okay? So that's what it is. It's narrowing the focus, giving them something to think about all the time. Why? So we don't want to do empty reps. Empty reps is where you just tell them to do things like do squats, jump on a rower, do pull-ups. It's like they're empty reps. There's no talk going into it. They're just doing whatever they usually do or whatever they want to do. They check out. They're not paying attention. They're not focused. It's not a good use of your time. So it's like, use your warm-up to cover some basic points of performance, to cover pieces of to cover something that you're going to need for the specific warm-up or the workout. And then when you get into the specific warm-up, it's the same thing. No empty reps. Don't just get them to do reps for the sake of it. Unless you've got a plan and you're like, okay, I'm just going to get them to squat. Like, let's say you've got 3 people in your class. 3 people in your class, you can throw your class plan out the window and you can coach them individually. So in that case, you can say, okay, let's just do some squats, watch them squat, and then coach the group or coach the individuals based on what you see. But you should never go into a class with nothing planned for focus points. You keep athletes focused and engaged, right? Naturally, if you've narrowed their focus to something, they're tuned in and they're going to pay attention to it. Gives them a little challenge. Like if you said to somebody, jump on a rower there, we're going to row for 60 seconds, keep your heels down. They're going to try and keep their heels down. And if there's somebody who never ever rows their heels down or has poor ankle movement, that's a challenge. That's a real challenge for them. So it gives them something to think about, gives them something to do, and they're just going to be, I don't know, more tuned in, and they're just probably going to enjoy themselves a lot more than saying jump on a rower and they're just there like, cool, I'm rowing for 60 seconds. This is fantastic. You know what I mean? Layering one thing at a time is really important. So this links into the previous session that we've done on auditory teaching. So being clear with your communication, one thing at a time, but then each time you give them a point of performance, you give them a focus. Like if you said to somebody, do an air squat, okay, do an air squat with your heels on the floor. That's a very different thing. All right, do another air squat with your knees out. Okay, do an air squat, maintain neutral spine. Perfect. Like adding that little bit of a focus, that's where it is. Like it's essentially a point of performance in a lot of cases, but it just gives them something to think about. And then it's trying to vary that point of performance. Like if you're talking about heels, or if you're talking about feet, and you're talking about the width of the feet. So it's like feet under the shoulders, heels under the shoulders, feet a little bit wider than hip width. Like thinking about different ways to say the same thing is going to keep your athletes engaged and focused. All right. Every step is an opportunity to see and correct to improve quality, movement quality. So bring it back to that rower example. If you said, right, okay, we're deadlifting today, we're going to start in the rowers. I want you to keep your heels on the floor or heels on the foot pad. As they're rowing, it's like you get to see and correct that. You get to walk around and say, look, your heels are lifting. Keep your heels down. Shorten your range of motion. You don't have to go in as far this morning. We're not rowing for distance or time. I just want you to focus on getting warmed up for your deadlifts. This is really important. You keep your feet flat, because when we go to deadlift, you got to keep your feet flat. Now, you've already covered feet flat on the rower and they've got warm. And then when you go to the deadlift, you can assume they're doing it and you don't need to mention it again. But then if they're not, you can say, remember on the rower we had the feet flat? Now, same again here. You're going into your toes too much. Keep your heels down. Okay? Gives you an opportunity to see and correct along the way. So if you're layering up your movements, let's say it's a clean, and like with the clean, there's so many things to do, right? So this is probably an easier one to explain. And you could say we're going to do the first pull. In the first pull, your knees slide back, but I want you to focus on keeping your elbow straight. That's different, isn't it? As opposed to just saying we're going to go from mid shin or barbell on the floor to barbell at the knee. You add in the elbow straight thing, it gives them something to focus on. All right, so just adding in something to focus on. Everybody can play. So if you're adding in focus points, everybody is interested and everybody comes along and nobody gets left behind. And if they're not doing it, then you can just, you will know, and you can be like, remember I said this? And they're like, no. And then it's like, okay, well, here, look, this is what we're trying to do. Keep the heels down on the row. I don't know why I'm using that example, but there you go. Everybody can play along. And then class are just more interesting. Like, I know if I'm focused on something, I'm more interested in it. If I'm, like, as an athlete, when I go into a class and I'm just told to do something with no focus, I'm just like, I'm bored, I drift, I do pretty much bare minimum, and then I got to try and create my own focus points in my head, which that's not what I'm there to do. I don't want to have to think about myself. I don't want to have to coach myself in the class. I want the coach to coach me. So I want to just do what I'm told, and I want to just listen. I just want to hear and say, okay, focus on this, cool, I can focus on that. And it just keeps me engaged and interested, all right? So that's why we do it. How we do it. Literally, every time you ask your athletes to do something, you give them something to think about. So I've already given you a few examples. And this applies to the general warm-up and specific warm-up. Like, as I said already, it's pet peeve when people don't use focus points in their general warm-up. It is an opportunity to get ahead. It's an opportunity to give extra pieces of information. If you've got a full packed class, for example, if your gym coach is Metcon or strength at Metcon, there's no coaching time. So you have to use your warm-up better. You have no choice. So in your general warm-up, you got to give them focus points. You got to give them things that they can carry with them into the workout. For example, if you're doing front squats and pull-ups. Let's say it's a heavy front squat day. And then in the workout, they're doing toes to bar, power cleans, and deadlifts. Like, something totally different. The Metcon is totally different than the front squats. Like, you got to use your general warm-up really well here, because you're not going to have much time to coach them high skill movements. So give them a focus point all along the way. Don't just say do 5 squats, hang from a bar, jump on a machine. They're useless. It's such a waste of time. Whereas you can be a lot more effective if you give them something to focus on at each point. And then it makes seeing and correcting easier for you, because you've already mentioned it and now you can go and watch and fix it. If you've never mentioned it before, it's very hard to cue it, because then you're relying on your athletes to understand you for start, and then you're relying on your cues to be so accurate and quick and specific. Whereas if you just mention it at the start and say, all right, in front squat, we're going to maintain elbows as far away from the knees at the bottom of the rep. And then when they get to the bottom of the rep, they're like, elbows as far away from the knees as possible. That's a different way to say elbows up, right? So it's like, okay, well, that's what we're looking for. Now when they squat, I'm like, elbows further away from your knees, elbows higher. Get your elbows further away from your knees. Like, this is like how we coach. It's like giving them a focus point and then get something to chase it down. let's look at a few examples. All right, so here's one video example, and then I'm going to go into my class planning sheet and I'm going to show you a few examples in there, and then we're going to get into the homework. So let's have a look at this. Let's start with a small kip. Keep your toes pointed towards the floor. All right, so, nuts. So that's the first focus point. You'll notice that the focus points are here. They're going to be highlighted in the middle of the screen, and it's like a small kip. Now I could easily just say, go and do a small kip. Instead, I said, do a small kip, but keep your toes pointed to the floor. It just changes the dynamic of the exercise, right? Let's start with a small kip. Keep your toes pointed towards the floor. Now let's get a little bigger with it and stick your chest through. Let's get bigger again. Think about pushing down on the bar. After the push down, add a little pull, just a small bend of the elbow. Now let's do a pull-up. Think about pulling your elbow down by your side. Nuts. Sorry, my bad. Oh, man. Sorry, I was just moving my face out of the way there and I dropped out of the video. So let's just watch it one more time. Sorry. Let's start with a small kip. Keep your toes pointed towards the floor. Now let's get a little bigger with it and stick your chest through. Let's get bigger again. Think about pushing down on the bar. After the push down, add a little pull, just a small bend of the elbow. Now let's do a pull-up. Think about pulling your elbow down by your side. Yeah, so all them focus points are just different ways to say the same thing over and over, right? But at least at each step of the pull-up, giving the athlete something to think about. All right, and you notice that I was like, let's do a small kip. Like, it's really easy information that everybody can understand, right? But then it's just keep toes pointed. So when they're doing their kip, just look at the toes pointed. Now, obviously, if you've got athletes in the class who can't do a kip, that's where you give them a little bit more attention and you can show them how to do a kip properly. Then you're saying, let's get bigger with the kip. Like, it's so easy for everybody to get bigger with the kip. This is what I mean by everybody can play, right? So get bigger with the kip. Everyone can do that. But then you're going to say, you're going to do that by pushing your chest through. So a lot of the time, the focus point is the how-to. All right, the what is get bigger, the how is push your chest through. You notice here, it's very instructional. I'm just like, let's do this, bang. Let's do this, bang. Let's do this, bang. I think this video is 30 seconds, 29 seconds, and you've got them kipping pull-ups. So like, if you're really strapped for time and you're looking to get your athletes warm, but you also want to have something for yourself to cue. So like there, I've got toes pointed, I've got chest through, I've got push down on the bar, and then I've got pull the elbow by the side. Like, I have 4 things that I can coach now in a workout, and I've got them warmed up for pull-ups in 29 seconds. Now, naturally, you're going to let them do more reps than this video shows, right? But that's me speaking for like less than 29 seconds there, and they've got the pull-ups. So obviously, you're going to get them to do more work than that, which is always the way it should be. It's like they do more than you talk. So instructional coaching, give them a what, give them a how, and the how is the focus point, essentially. All right? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look at my class planning sheet. So I'm going to pause. Okay, here we are. So I've got some examples of class planning, and here's my sheet. You can see it's the exact same template that you guys have. Here's the coaching details in this section here, and then learning with focus points. So in your sheet, it might be over a little bit further. You can just drag it over and put it beside here now because you know exactly what it's for, and it makes more sense to you now, so you can use it. Once you've layered the focus point, then you can easier stick in the correctional cue. So let me just zoom in a little bit closer just so we can all see a bit better. Okay, so in this workout, I'm just going to literally read through the plan, and I'm going to tell you what the focus points are, so then you can start to think about how you can add them to your classes, right? So for this one, it was a partner warm-up, 3-minute AMRAP, weighted planks, and 10 RDLs. So I could easily say, do a partner work, bit warm-up. You're going to do weighted planks. Here's what it looks like. You're going to do 10 RDLs. You're going to switch every 10 reps on the RDL. But if I add in a focus point, I want you to focus on your strong midline. So I want you to squeeze your abs as hard as you can. That changes the weighted plank. It really does. And then it gives you something to go around and check. Okay, 10 RDLs. So I want you to 10 RDLs. This is what it looks like. I want you to make sure you send your hips back and your knees don't go forward. And then I do the contrasting demo here on this one. So it's really quick. a little bit of information on what I want, and then I can go around and cue, and all I'm looking for when I'm cueing is the strong midline, hips back. So you can see this all links into all the previous sessions we've done up to now, and it's just adding extra layers, combining it all together to make the brilliant class that we all want to coach. All right, so keeping your athletes super engaged through a warm-up, and you're making sure they're working hard, but they're also working in pairs, so they have to communicate to each other when they're finished reps, and it just gets that little bit of interaction going. So that's just a little piece for later on. Then we're going into get your barbells, add 5s or 10s. Sorry, I've done RDLs then. So after the warm-up, we do some more RDLs and talk about lats engaged. But to get the lats engaged, talk about elbows back. So instead of elbows pointing out to the sides or back 45, it's like back behind you. Get some rotation through the shoulders to make sure the elbows are pointing back. Get some active lats, and then they can do some reps. Then there was add 5s or 10s into deadlifts. So this was a static use of a position. So I got somebody, an athlete, into a static setup, talked about the hips and shoulders, and then talked about the hips and shoulders wanting to rise together. Then we did reps of the hips and shoulders rising together, and that was on my command. And then we're into hips back from the top. So we're linking back in the RDL, because at the RDL I said hips back, knees forward, but now we're into the deadlift. So once we lock out the top of the deadlift, making sure hips go back first, don't let the knees bend first. So hips back, and then only bend the knees once the bar passes. So that's giving them something to focus on. So we're doing more deadlifts. Here we're going hips and shoulders rise together. Here we're going hips back from the top. And then here we're going to talk about the finish position by squeezing the quads. All right. So you can see there's a different focus all the way through the deadlifts. And I've done layer. And I'm layering up the deadlift for all the different things I want. But then I'm going into a rack drill. So I'm going 5-second stride through the floor, 4 touch and go deadlifts, stride through the floor. So this rack drill I spent about 5 minutes on, and I linked all of these focus points, but then got the bar set up under the J-hooks just off the floor, and then I was getting them to drive through the floor with their legs, and that was the main focus point for the day. So I used all of these focus points, and then I went into the rack, and driving through the floor was the thing, not pulling from the floor, so pushing through the floor. So I used a rack drill. I tried to get a video, my video failed. I was going to post it on the group, so sorry about that. But I fixed my phone today, so hopefully I can get some videos. Alright, anyway, then I went back out to the floor, the 4 touch and go deadlifts, because the workout was 4 sets of 4, heavy day. And then 10 minutes to load. And then we lifted. So sorry, I should have told you what the workout was first. The workout was deadlifts, 4 sets of 4, 4 sets of 2, all heavy sets. So you can see warm up there was up to 9 minutes. Then I was into some deadlift coaching, so basic points of performance. Then I was into a drill to get the focus point covered. The focus point was driving through the floor. And then 4 touch and go deadlifts, and then we had 10 minutes to load their barbells to get them to a heavyweight. And then we did another 20 minutes of lifting before we were finished on 55. Alright, so that was the full hour of heavy deadlifts. Okay. Next class. Workout. Power snatch. Another heavy day, funnily enough. So it's 10 sets of 1 power snatch. Okay. And let me see here. We've got pipe warm-up part 1. And then I've got pipe warm-up part 2. So on pipe warm-up part 1, it was like a complex. So I wanted muscle snatch, behind the neck press, and overhead quarter squats. Each layer had a focus. So the muscle snatch, head up, shoulders back. Okay, so head up at the bottom position, and shoulders were engaged. Behind the neck press, elbows under the bar, upper back engaged as they press behind from behind the neck. I always do K, even though neck is N. Why do I keep doing that? Alright, overhead quarter squats. So this is to just get them warmed up for the catch position of the power snatch. I was saying hips back, feet flat. So you see I've got 2 things there, right? But because it's the warm-up, it's not very complex. It's only a pipe. It's like head up, shoulders back, kind of easy. I can go and cue it. Behind the neck press, there's no time pressure here, and I just want to get a couple of things sorted and boxed away, so I don't really need to mention them again unless I'm seeing the fault crop up. Alright, so it's like, this is like practice, no time pressure, gets them doing a little bit of movement, and gives me something to chase down and see and correct, and them something to focus on. Pipe 1 part 2, dislocates, elbows straight. Like, dislocates, you could say elbows straight, head neutral, keep your rib cage down, put your feet shoulder width. Like, there's so many different things you can say for these things. It's just to give them something different to focus on. If you do dislocates, people call them pass-throughs as well, just in case you're wondering. If you do dislocates every day, like, that's going to get boring, and people are just going to be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to start swinging the pipe and I'm going to do whatever, right? But if you said, all right, dislocates, focus on keeping your elbow really straight. Or focus, bring your hands a little bit closer every single rep. It just gives them something to think about, right? Quarter squat dislocates. So they're going into that quarter squat position we already used, and then we're going into hips back, elbow straight. So it's like send the hips back, make sure the hips go back, because when they go to do the dislocates, they want to pull the hips forward if they're tight overhead. So sit the hips back, elbow straight. And then the cat cow, like you could just demonstrate a cat cow and say, all right, this is what we're looking for, bang, 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 and then they go and do it. But then if you just add in as much movement through the spine as possible, it just gives you that license to go around and say, can you get any more extension? Can you try and push for a little bit more flexion? And then it also gives them something to think about if you're very specific about it, and then you're seeing and correcting it. Okay? So all these are seeing and correcting strategies as well, which we'll cover again. But you're going to start seeing how everything is completely interlinked in your classes. And you're just going to start building so much better classes, bigger class plans, better, more engagement, and better results for your athletes. All right? So this is how it's all done. Then you've got behind the neck press. Again, okay, neck is spelled with an N. Behind the neck press. This is with a barbell now. So elbows under. We're refreshing what we covered before, except this time it's with a bar. So we want to definitely make sure the elbows are under so we can press straight up rather than the elbows drifting behind. And then we're pushing forward. Okay, behind the push press, we're going to use the legs to help. So we're going, this is still behind the neck. We're just going to go push press now. So get the legs to drive the bar. And then push jerk, find a quarter squat. So elbows under, drive with the legs, and then catching the quarter squat. So we're just layering that up step by step. You see, I could have went straight to a push jerk, right? But I didn't want to. I wanted to layer it up. And if I had said, I could do a push jerk, and I could say, all right, we're going to push jerk. We're going to do elbows under. Cool. Now we're going to go push jerk. We're going to get a big leg drive first. Okay, cool. We're going to go push jerk. We're going to catch the quarter squat. So you see, I can still do it there, right? But I've layered it so that everybody can play along, because some people might not be able to catch and jerk very well. And they're all able to do it behind the neck press. Well, kind of push press and then into a push jerk. And I've just layered up the movement complexity with a focus point that's going to be relevant to the end product. The end product is the push jerk. These are all relevant focus points to get me to a push jerk. Defining the contact point. So the focus of the contact point was arm straight, knees bent, bar in the hip. This was a static position, so we can give a little bit more. If you're using static positions, you can give multiple points of performance once you get them into that static position so you can correct it. Once you go dynamic, limit your points to 1. Don't have 3 to 4 points in a dynamic movement. Static is fine. Dynamic, always only 1. Okay. Knee slide forward, chest lift. So you can see there's always focus points along the way, and then this is all just about doing the same things we've done above here, right? So let's skip on to the next one. All right, ski burpee workout. I don't have the workout written there, but it was a ski burpee. Ski burpee and bike. Yeah. So this is a partner workout. One partner did 300 meters on the ski, 15 burpees, while the other partner was biking for distance, and it was a 30-minute workout where the score on your bike was the thing that mattered. The ski and the burpees didn't count. So you're trying to get through your ski and burpees while your partner was biking, and then you switched. Okay. So my warm-up here was pretty much using the ski and burpees to get athletes warm. So on the ski, drive your head down. Okay. On the burpee, we're going to do step down, step up burpees. So I demoed that, got them working. So again, it's just like on the step here, the focus point was alternating the legs. So it was using, if you step back with the right leg, step up with the right leg, then step back with the left leg, step up with the left leg. Gets the brain thinking straight away, as opposed to do burpees, step down, step up. That's like, yeah, grand, they can do burpees, step down, step up. But the thing that I added in here was the alternating legs every single time, just to tune them in. Ski, crunch. So drive the head and crunch the abs. And then it was, see, I'm layering this, so head down, crunch. So it's not just head down and then next one I'm going crunch. I'm saying, okay, now on the next one I want you to crunch the midline, but I want you to throw your head and crunch at the same time. So it's bringing it with you, bringing it along, don't leave it behind. All right, burpee, jump and step. So it was a jump down, step with the right leg, jump down, step with the left leg, alternating legs each time. Then I went on the ski, and it was handles by the head. So as the head comes down and you crunch the midline, pull the handles by the side of the head. What the common fault is that I see is the elbows are too straight and the handles are too far away from the head. You want to get the handles in close to the head as you drive down. So head down, crunch the midline, pull the handles by the head was the 3 layers. Each time we had a focus point. And then on the burpee, you're going to jump down, jump up. This time, there was no stepping involved. I just said I want you to jump with 2 feet. Jump that back with 2 feet. Don't have the weird one leg after the other. Jump back. Then we got onto the bike and I spent 11 minutes on the bike because the bike was the thing. The workout was a bike for distance in 30 minutes. So I wanted to make sure that they were achieving the best they could. So on the bike, I didn't just say, let's jump on, because you could easily just say, jump on the bike because there's no technique involved and then just going to pedal for 30 minutes, right? Got to give them something to think about. I got to give myself something to coach. So this is the one I put on my stories last week, right? This workout. If you're on the recorder, if you're watching this back in time, it was at the start of December I put on my stories. Okay, 85 RPM damper 1. So on the bike, let's do 85 RPM damper 1. So I gave them a damper setting and I gave them an RPM to watch on the screen. And then it was like, all right, how much distance did you cover in that time? What was your pace in that time? Whatever it might have been, I think it was pace I looked at that day. Then I went 85 RPM damper 3 to 5. And then I went damper 7 to 10, any RPM you want, but see what your pace is at. So that was then allowing them to figure out for themselves and start thinking about what they can do in the workout. And then we did a dry run and then we started working. Okay, so I'm going to do one more because I think we might be starting to get the idea here. It's that deadlift day as well. That's deadlift box step over. So I do this one. Oh, I got to this one. Let me see what this is. Okay, so let's do this one. So this is on 0, 12 strict pull-ups, on 2, 20 or 16 cat row, on 4, 20 goblet squats, and we did 4 rounds of that. Okay, so that is a 24 minute workout or so. Okay, so this is where you see, right, on the rower. So we warmed up on the row, we warmed up in pairs. So one partner was on the row first, and I said, C comes close to the bum. So that was the focus. It wasn't just row. It was like, okay, I want you to bring your bum close to your heels, essentially. But instead of saying bum close to the heels, I said, bring the seat close to your... Seat comes close to... That makes no sense, sorry. That meant to say seat close to the heels. Sorry, seat to the heels. Then the next one was lean from the hip. So that is at the back position. I want you to lean in from the hip. And then as you're on the way back out, lean back from the hip. Alright, so lean from the hip rather than moving through the spine. So that was going, sorry, no, I remember now, I made that up. So this is lean from the hip. That was going into the catch position. So in the catch position, I wanted them to lean from the hip. I didn't want them to keep their bum back miles and then just bend through their spine. And then even power all the way out. So there was something different to think about on the row all the time. So that was getting the bum nice and close to the heels. This was leaning from the hip in the catch position. And then this is not just a big massive leg power and then an easy pull. It was even leg drive with even pull. Okay. Alright. Then you got alternating world's greatest stretch, foot beside the hand. So there's a focus, right? I could say alternating world's greatest stretch, let's go. But instead I said, right, I want foot up beside the hand, not behind it. Perfect. Cat cow, as much movement as possible, same as I did the last time. And then the hollow hold, hips to ribs. So you can talk about getting in a hollow hold and not saying anything, but I want to say hips to ribs, hips to ribs. So then I can go around and cue it. Hips to ribs, hips to ribs, hips to ribs. Hang. So just going to do the dead hang, grip, and then knuckles pointed up. Scap pull-ups then was the next thing. So I wanted to keep the elbows straight. And then next one was pull up, pull the elbows down. So elbows pull down as you pull your body up. Alright, then we're on to the goblet squats. Heels in line with shoulders was the cue for the width of the feet. And that was the focus point. Squat, knees outside, foot at the bottom. So it was very specific about where I wanted the knee, in what position of the squat. And then hips move back. Goblet, when you get the goblet, I want to keep the torso locked in. Don't know what I meant by that. I must have covered that somewhere or said something else, but I gave them something to think about as they were moving. Alright, so I think you get the idea of focus points and layering with focus points all the way through your class. People are just tuned in all the way and it gives you things to see and correct. What it's going to do, it's going to cover all 3 areas of the program essentially. The first area was engaging your athletes so they're tuned in. The second is filling your hour with useful information. That's useful information all the way through your class. You've got something for them to think about. It's useful. Don't use something that is not relevant to your workout that day. Don't jump on a ski erg if they're doing goblet squats. Like, there's no relevance there for a ski erg and goblet. Well, you could probably link it. And if you can link it, great. And if you can link it, you can do anything you want. But if you can't link it, don't use it. Alright? Like, don't do hollow holds if we're doing heavy deadlifts. Because the hollow hold is not what you want to have in a deadlift. Like, you want to use maybe more like a plank if you're going to do a deadlift, because you've got the neutral spine. With the hollow, you've got a forced flex spine, all right? So have you identified an area of improvement for yourself from this webinar? Have you decided that, oh, I actually don't use them in my warm-up. Oh, I don't use them very well when I'm in my specific warm-up. I don't learn and give something different to think about. I don't use different things all the time. If you've identified an area of improvement for yourself, I want you to just post it in the comments. See number 3 here. Post to the comments of the Facebook. Post to the comments of this video on Facebook answering the previous question. So if you've identified an area of improvement for yourself, I want you to tell everybody about it, so that then that's going to make you just apply it a little bit more. Then back up the top, I want you to record all your focus points in your class plan from now on. So every single step along the way should have a focus point. Never, ever, ever coach empty reps. It's just a big no-no. Don't ever coach empty reps. Everything you push it down should have a focus point, and vary the focus as often as possible. Don't use the same focus point all the time. So if you're always using a rower in your warm-up, don't just use the same thing all the time, all right? Think about how is the rower relevant to today's workout, and then give them that focus. Record a 5-minute section of your coaching using focus points and upload to your drive. This can be a general warm-up compared to your specific warm-up. It can be anywhere through your class. I want to see you using this, right? So if you're taking a 5-minute section of your class, I want you to drop it into your Google Drive. I also want you to take a screenshot of your class plan that day and stick that into the Google Drive as well, so I can look at the class plan and look at the video and know what's happening, all right? So record a 5-minute section of your coaching using focus points and upload to your drive. Tell me when it's there so I can review it. Don't just drop it in your drive and never ever get feedback off me. If you're not getting feedback, it's because I didn't know it was there. So let me know you've dropped it in. Just put it in and drop me a message saying, yeah, Chris, you dropped that 5 minutes of coaching into the drive there, and I'll get back and I'll let you know. Yeah, cool, I'll get back to that. I'll have a look at that on Friday, and I'll give you some feedback as soon as I can. All right, and then I'll let you know when the feedback is there, so that you can actually watch it and see it and apply it. All right, so that's your focus this week. That is your homework this week. Layering with focus points, getting your athletes to narrow their focus.